It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Hi, folks. How about if I told you, folks, for all you seniors out there, how about if I told you that each year, $2.6 billion every year is being scammed. They're scamming senior citizens to the point of $2.6 billion. I highly advise any one of you to please tell your friends to watch the show. My guest today is District Attorney Stefanie Salavantis from Luzerne County, and we're talking about the top scams that are happening in Luzerne County. Not only Luzerne County, but also other counties as well. But Stefanie will be able to address some of the serious ones. So once again, this is addressed to anybody. We'll give you some hints today, tell you what's happening, and hopefully save your money. Thanks for coming on the show, Stefanie.
Thank you for having me.
You're working hard down there, right?
Yes,
you've been busy like crazy.
Yes.
It's amazing. Let's talk about some of the key scams that you have seen, so far, and then we can mention some other ones. What are some of the key scams that are going on right now?
Well, right now, and what I've been very vocal about and trying to make, especially elderly, know about is the grandparent scam. And that is when a phone call is made to the grandparents. And why the elderly are more of a target in these scams is because they're vulnerable in the fact that they're home more often than any other. So you have the older generation that are home that can answer the phone. And they test it out, they call homes, and they say, this is so-and-so, your grandson. And they go through it and say, I've been in a bad accident, and I need money to pay for my hospital bills, or I've been arrested, and I need money for a lawyer to get out of jail. Can you wire me money, Western Union, or through a money pack? And that money goes directly to them, and it can't be traced, and they find out later that that never happened. So that's one of the big scams that's going on.
Would they check the phone? I mean, if someone's called a grandparent and said, this is your grandson, wouldn't the grandparent?
You would think, but in those moments, you're so worried about your grandchild that these individuals will send money to this certain location to pay for their lawyer or pay for medical bills. And they come to find out after speaking to their grandchild or speaking to their child that it was not correct and that it was false information and they were scammed. Mm-hmm. And we, as from law enforcement, we can't do anything because when money is transferred or wired through Western Union, there's no way of tracking. And most of this money is going out of the country, and we have no control over that. And that's why we always say to individuals, not just elderly, anybody, if you get a phone call and they're saying that you need to wire money through Western Union, or the new one is a money pack because more people have access to it, where you go to CVS, Rite Aid, and you could put money on an account, they give you a number, you give that number to another individual, they can go to any CVS, Rite Aid, and pick that money up. So when you hear Western Union or Money Pack, know that it's most likely a scam. Follow your gut, follow your instincts. If something doesn't seem right, most likely it isn't.
Okay, so that's one. Okay, what's a second scam?
One that we are seeing a lot of these days, and it's going back to not targeting elderly, it's targeting business owners. They call businesses and say, we're from PP&L. You haven't paid your bill, you owe $5,000, we'll say, and you need to pay it right now or your electricity is going to be shut off. I know of a school that this was made to, a call was made to. I know of restaurants that these scams were made to. They paid, certain groups that I know of paid the amount, finding out it's a scam after. Do not trust that. They will not be calling you and saying, you owe this amount, you need to pay immediately.
And let me tell you something. The reason why you're on this show today, which was a reminder, I was at Angelo's, and Anna, one of the owners, came out and told me about the scam, about what happened to her, at her business, the same thing. And I said, I said, that's interesting because I was going to call you anyway, and it spurred me to give you a call because she was called the same way, that they were going to close her.
Right.
But but she was smart. I mean, she's a smart person. But she said, is that right? Well, so what do you, you paid your bill.
Right.
So what do you do?
I would immediately, if that situation arises, what I would do is I tell the individual, if this is the case, I will call you back. I'm going to check my bills, see if this is accurate, and I will call the company back. Do not take a number from these individuals, because what they will do, they're smart, they have a sophisticated system. They give you a number, and it sounds like it's going to say PP&L, that it's going through the same PP&L that we would call every day. So they are scamming you all along the way.
A to Z.
Yes, yes. So I would check my bills. I would then call PP&L, find the number online or through Yellow Pages, and call them and say this is going on. Because if it is a scam, then PP&L will want to know. Exactly. They notify their customers then that things like this are going on in your neighborhood. And then I would also make a call to law enforcement, because if I find out about it, one of the first things I do is I notify the media and let them know that there is a scam going on. It just targeted an individual within our county.
Yeah, one of the things is right on your bill, there's a phone number there.
Yes.
You call the number and you give them your account, so therefore you have that number available to you. But here again, it sounds so logical to us.
Right.
But yet, when these people are put into situations, okay, that happens to be the business ones. There's
and
other.
it's their livelihood. And I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
If it's their livelihood, if someone's calling and saying, I'm shutting off your electricity so your restaurant can't run for the day and you're losing thousands of dollars because of that, you're going to just respond, react, and pay because you're a good business owner.
Yeah. Also, some people say they're from the IRS.
Right.
And, you owe back taxes. And, of course, when you say from the IRS, everyone gets nervous.
They get scared.
Especially seniors,
yes.
okay? So you get a call, okay? What advice do you have, and that's why I tell you folks, this is a great show. Please call your friends up, watch the show. We're on the internet 24/7. We're playing this as many times as we can. Hopefully if you have your parents or know elderly people, give them a call and tell them what to do. You get a phone call, any kind of phone call, other than knowing the person who is calling you, okay? Right. What's the first thing you should do, regardless of what they're telling you on the phone?
Well, the first thing is each situation is different, so I can't say the first thing that you should be able to do. Like if you were going to, if we're talking about IRS scams, know that they won't call you on the phone. The IRS will not be giving you a call to say that you owe taxes. You will most likely get a certified letter in the mail, or someone's going to show up at your door. They're not going to call you because, and this is how I feel, anybody can call you, anybody at all. So it is a scam if the IRS is calling you. Law enforcement, they won't be calling you, telling you that you're going to be charged for this or that if you don't pay this fine that you owe. That's not going to happen, and that's a scam that's been going on. People just need to realize that these individuals, these companies or agencies will not be calling. But if there is a telemarketer, someone like PP&L that may they could potentially place a call to your house. I would always question the individuals that are calling. I always do, personally, I always do. I always talk to my grandparents and my family about it. Always question the people that are calling you because you don't know who's on the other side of that phone.
When you're talking about, this is big business.
Yes, it is.
And when we're talking 2.6 billion with a B, okay, yes. That or people are being scammed that much money every year. Other ones, they're seasonal ones. They're yes. Seasonal scams. Right now we're looking at maybe construction scams.
Right.
How does that work?
You will have certain individuals that will go to a home and we talked about it before the show, elderly. they're more easily scammed when it comes to construction because they're more trusting, in my opinion. They need work to be done, or someone knocks on their door and says, I'm just trying to make extra money. Is there anything that you need done around your house? And they'll bring them in, and these individuals either will get their homes wiped out because they're trusting these individuals in their home. And they come in, they either do it themselves or they bring other people, because then they get to know these individuals, these elderly individuals that let them into their home. And they're able to have access to money, jewelry, things of that nature. Or they'll do work, but they won't do it correctly. It will be a bad job that's been done. So the elderly or these individuals that are paying these construction workers have to then go out and pay for a whole new construction company to come in and correct the job that was done in the first place. So we're seeing a lot of that going on these days.
Credentials, I think anyone who is coming to your door, okay, unless you call a person to get an estimate on your thing, anybody who knocks at your door, okay, I don't care how well they're presented, I don't care how nice they like, or they're likable or whatever. You know, I think you should just always, before you do anything, check with the local community, check with, who should they check with, really?
Well,
if someone knocks on my door and says, look, I noticed that your outside thing is, we're in the neighborhood, we're doing this, okay, particularly if they want to seal your driveway or put whatever, or they see, they see your, we could do this, we're in the neighborhood, we could save you a lot of money, we'll be,
there are new, which is nice these days, there are new companies out there that allow you to go on, and this goes back to the internet, going on the internet and looking up these companies and seeing what type of work they do. I think it's important to get feedback from other individuals that may have used the company before. But when it comes to construction and individuals that should be licensed, electricians, people of that nature, you can find out through their unions if they are actually a licensed individual that should be performing the work on your home.
So before you do anything, when someone's knocking at your door or telling you something, maybe it'd be a good best to say, well, could you give me your card, could give me a phone number that I could call, and give me some of the people that you've worked for, that, if you've been around, I'd like to know who they worked for, so I could call these people up. They may have numbers, etc., but just the fact to test them, and then don't even do anything until you really are comfortable with that person.
And that's a good point. We, every day as business owners, when we interview people, we ask for references. We ask to speak to people that these individuals have worked for before. And it is important to talk to people that have had work done by those individuals.
Folks, I'm talking to District Attorney Stefanie Salavantis, Luzerne County District Attorney, talking about scams. Very simple, folks. Do not respond to anything that you get a phone call or anyone. Don't respond. Believe me when I tell you, they're tricky. They have it from A to Z, particularly internet frauds. Where they tell you just won $50 million, or you better send us $1,000, etc. It's not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. We come back. What about funeral and cemetery scams? What about, we know about the telemarketing. I hope you're smart enough about that. But there are some interesting things that this funeral and cemetery scams. Interesting. We're back with a district attorney right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, you can watch all of our shows on ssptv.com. They're all there, folks, all these shows we produce. And also my email, sam@ssptv.com. And we're happy to say we're at HD right now, all high definition, so hopefully it's making the programs more enjoyable for you. My guest today is District Attorney Stefanie Salavantis from Luzerne County. I'm talking about scams targeting the seniors. $2.6 billion every year, folks, you're being scammed in the country. Before we went to break, and Stefanie has some other ones, but we're talking about funeral and cemetery scams. So your question is, what do you mean? How could they scam you at a funeral or cemetery? Well, first of all, one approach is this. Scammers read the obituaries and call or attend the funeral service of a complete stranger to take advantage of the grieving widow or widower, claiming the deceased had an outstanding debt with them. Scammers will try to extort money from relatives to settle the fake debts. And of course, you have some other people that try to talk you into different things, taking advantage at your weakest time. So it's sad, but you have to be on target all the time, Stefanie.
Always, okay? Always.
Now you mentioned something about the telemarketings, okay, and the lottery. Tell me about those.
Well, if I can, I'll go back to the funeral scams really quick. I haven't specifically heard anything about that occurring in Luzerne County, but I would bet that has occurred, and people are afraid to come forward and tell us that it's occurred, because when people are scammed, they feel embarrassed by it. Do not feel embarrassed. It could happen to any one of us, anyone.
And happened to your own family, right?
Yes.
With the utility scam.
Yes. Yeah. It happened on numerous occasions where they've tried to scam my family, and maybe because I've educated them that they know that this isn't right. They knew to follow their gut and know that this isn't accurate, and they didn't get away with it. But when you're in a vulnerable state like a funeral, that is a time that people know. I'm trying to say, because you're so vulnerable, they know they could take advantage of you. Sure. And going back to the obituary, they actually scan obituaries to see if this was a single person that passed away. They have no relatives, or they have very few relatives that aren't from the area. Their homes are then a target. So be aware of that as family, that could potentially occur.
What do you suggest when people are going away? That's the point. When people are going away, okay, we always notify the local Cunningham police, and we have people that are always there. They're out of the house, all that. So what do you recommend to people when they're going away, or if they're going to a funeral, okay, what do you recommend?
Well, first and foremost, if you're going away on vacation specifically, do not post it on social media. There are people out there that scan specifically for that. They know the home is then a target, and they could go in without people even being concerned or just showing up. And
I'm shaking my head because you know what, Stefanie, you're 100%. Why would anybody, I hope I don't offend anybody, but why would you want to tell people where you're at, what you're doing? We're going away. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it?
And it does. It sounds crazy when you talk about it out loud, but that's the age we're growing up in with the social media. Everybody posts everything about their life on social media these days, and that makes them vulnerable. No matter your age, you are vulnerable, and that's what they target: vulnerable individuals. So I recommend that people don't post that. They don't post where they're at all times, even if you're going for dinner. To me, you're a target then. Going back to, you were asking about what to do if you are going away. I would recommend notifying your police department. There are police departments, I think every police department should do it. If you notify them, they will drive by your home and make sure that they are checking out your property to make sure that nothing has been done to it, there hasn't been any vandalism, anything along those lines. So someone has an eye on your property.
And we're very fortunate in Cunningham. We have the Cunningham Police and the Sugarloaf Police, the Butler Township Police. I'll bet you that when I'm out playing with my grandchildren, I'll see the cop, the chief or one of the policemen driving past Brook Hill, or different areas and Main Street or whatever, and they're always visible, okay? And I always tell them, that we're going away, here's the phone number. However, there are people in the house that'll be checking, so if you do see people, you can always pull in a driveway and ask, etc. But these are things that they could certainly do, especially now people are going on vacation.
Right. And know when you go on vacation to leave lights on. Make it seem as though someone is home at all times.
Have these timers now?
Yes, timers. And what's important too, I always go around and talk to crime watch groups, and lights on the outside of your house that go off if there's movement. That's very important. That will hinder.
Go on, you mean?
I mean, go on, sorry.
Okay.
They go on when there's movement, go off after a little while. And that will stop someone from trying to break into the back of your house or the side of your house, because then there is a light shining on them.
Now, another interesting that I'm learning here from you today, the lottery. Tell me about this lottery thing.
Well, what occurs is that And this actually happened to the district attorney's office. Someone actually sent a check to our office, addressed specifically to me, saying that I won, and here's a check for, I believe it was about $750, and they said you could cash this check, you just need to send me $250, I forget the amount that it was, send a check back to me for this amount. It was for the processing of the check and the charges that go with it. And that's what they want. They want you to send a check back. They can cash your check, get your account information, and at the same time, your check that you put in for $750, it takes a couple days to bounce. Or to say insufficient funds, whatever the bank's codes are or notices are. So the $750 doesn't get deposited, but they've taken your whatever amount is, $250, $300, and your account information. So this happens every single day. You talk about $2.6 billion. I think every minute of every day, someone is attempting to be scammed on. And we need to be aware of these scams. So you know when this comes in the mail, it's not accurate, and these aren't factual checks, or they're not real checks that can be deposited into our accounts.
It's amazing, you know, here again, you have seniors that are, you know, they don't have, you know, they're open, they're vulnerable, you know, they trust everybody, they grew up that way. Unfortunately, I tell you, seniors, don't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody. You question everybody, just like Anna did at Angelo. She said, "Oh yeah, well, you prove it to me, etc." And that was it. You know, she just got rid of them. But even getting a phone number, like you said, they have their own system.
Yes.
I would go to the utility, get the 800 number.
And they do go through, what they try to do when they call you is try to get information off of you. Oh, is this your number? No, that's not my number. This is my number.
Oh, boy.
And then they get your number.
Oh, boy.
Is this your address? No, and they go through it and they know how to scam you.
It's like reflex, though.
Yes.
It's like reflex.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like, you know, you just got to be on target. You know,
Right.
sometimes don't even answer the phone. I don't know. Well, if you want to learn more about the scams, okay, it's very simple. Just Google the top 10 scams targeting seniors. But Medicare, counterfeit prescriptions, funeral and cemetery scans, fraudulent anti-aging products, which are, you know, that's an interesting one. Telemarketing, internet fraud, investment schemes. Okay, that's a homeowner reverse mortgage scams. Have you run across any of those?
I've heard about a few occurring throughout different counties around us. Not in Luzerne County, but I've heard about it. It may potentially come into Luzerne County.
And here's what you just talked about: sweepstakes and lottery
Yes.
scams. Okay. And the grandparent scam, that's what she was talking about. Folks, we'll be back with District Attorney Stefanie Salavantis right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. The topic of today's show is scams, scamming the senior citizens. And here to tell you some of the things that you should look for is Luzerne County District Attorney Stefanie Salavantis. So to review, some of the things seniors or anyone should be looking for in scams.
I would say, first and foremost, if it seems too good to be true, it most likely isn't true. It's a scam, and trust your instincts, trust your guts. That's what I try to tell individuals every day. If it seems too good, it most likely is too good to be true. These scam artists know when to call, and they target individuals who are vulnerable, like the elderly. Don't trust these companies that are calling in, supposed companies that are calling in. Most don't call you. If you owe money, they will be sending you letters in the mail. They will be possibly showing up at your door, leaving notes on your mailbox, something along those lines. And so when it comes down to it, know that every day you need to realize that there may be someone potentially out there trying to take money from you.
What is the punishment if you catch someone or arrest someone for scamming somebody?
If we can, which is very rare, because when we go back to Western Union money packs, it's hard to track these individuals down. I will tell you that in my time as DA, we have been unable to track any of them down. Right? They can be charged with theft by deception, different charges along those lines, but it's almost impossible to find them.
Yeah. And they know that.
Yes, they do.
They know that. So the point is that you have to be very vigilant and be very tuned in what's happening. Best thing is if you get a call, I would hang up. Even just hang up, because what are you going to say? They may trick you in saying, no, this is not Jimmy, it's Sam, and I live here instead of there, and they're getting all this information, okay? How are things going in District Attorney's office? You're swamped.
Wonderful. We are very swamped, but we're doing everything in our power to work closely with law enforcement and keep our streets safe.
Well, all I can tell you is that my hat's off to any police, any law enforcement officer in your office, anywhere that's dealing with people. It's just something that you got to be very, very tuned into, and I applaud all you people who are in that. Stephanie, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You always respond, and I appreciate that very much. Folks, topic is scams. Be aware of them. If it's too good to be true, as Stephanie says, it isn't. And be very careful. $2.6 billion a year is what's being scammed in our country today. Stay with us. Next time we'll have some more information on what seniors should be doing, preparing themselves so they can live a good life.